If you're an adult, competitive tennis player that feels stuck with the same strokes, stuck with the same game, and stuck with the same results, maybe even year after year, and you just don't feel like you're improving, please don't give up. We're about to learn a critically important lesson from this 10-year-old girl that's going to teach us about how to get better at the game of tennis. Her coach reached out to me recently and asked me to give some feedback on her backhand. Let's go ahead and dive in and look at it together. And I want you to notice, even if you're not a coach and are not used to analyzing video, you'll see that some of these backhands that she hits, it looks like it's pretty solid drive, into the court on the other side. But then occasionally, kind of looks like she golfs under the ball and kind of pops it way up in the air. Like that last one was really solid and a good firm drive forwards. But that one that she just hit almost kind of looked like a baseball swing a little bit. And you'll notice that as she's hitting, her racket face is popping open, meaning it's facing upwards, and she's just launching that ball up into the air, and it's sailing super, super far over on the other side. So just out of the gate, lesson number one, this is a 10-year-old, by the way, obviously very coordinated, very athletic. She's got a great coach who's giving her great feedback, and yet there's still some technical flaws and some things to iron out. And lesson number one I want you to come away with today as an adult competitive player like myself is a lot of times we like to think, oh man, if only I was younger, if only I started as a kid, if I just had that young brain and that young body, and man, I've just advanced level after level after level. And don't get me wrong, it is easier. When you're 10 years old, it's easier to learn the game of tennis than when you're 40 or 50 or 60. But it does not guarantee you're going to have fantastic technique and do everything right just because you have all those benefits that this player does. Okay? So don't beat yourself up too much about trying to get better at the game of tennis at your current age, whatever it is, especially because I'm going to reveal something really surprising in just a minute. That brings me right to lesson 2 for today. In chapter 5 of my book, I talk about this concept of the improvement circle. You're going to see how this relates to the 10-year-old girl and to you in your game in a second. Bear with me for a second as I explain this. So the first phase of mastering anything is called unconscious incompetence. It means you don't know what you don't know, and you don't really have any information or knowledge about the thing, and you also can't do it. You can't execute it correctly. After you take maybe a couple lessons or watch a YouTube video or read a book, you've got some information, so now you're aware of what you're supposed to be doing, but you still can't do it yet correctly. That's conscious incompetence. Then, after doing some training and some practice, we move to conscious competence, where now you have that information, that knowledge, and you've practiced enough that you can do it right, but only while you're thinking about it. That's the conscious part of it. And after the right kind and the right amount of training, then we move on to subconscious competence. So now we know what we're supposed to do, and we are doing it without even having to think about it. That's the subconscious part of it. So anytime that we address or try to master some kind of new skill, tennis or anything in life, we go through this cycle of learning information, learning how to do it right, and then eventually putting it into our subconscious as a habit to where we don't even have to think about it anymore. So where is that 10-year-old player in the improvement circle with her backhand? Let's go back and take a look really quick and look at that backhand that she golfed and just kind of launched like up into the air. If you look at where she's dropping her racket to, and let's do this, go forward to contact. And I'm going to draw a line at contact and then go back to her setup on her swing. I want you to notice how her racket is actually a little bit above the height she's going to make contact, and she's coming around her body in a very level, very straight swing. And that's why she's got to open her racket face up, because she kind of intuitively understands that if the ball doesn't go up a little bit, then I'm going to hit the net. And so she's trying to walk this tightrope of finding just the right angle with her racket face to get the ball over the net without launching it and hitting it way too high and way too far. But it's really tough to do with a level, straight swing like this. So in my feedback to her, I showed her one of the best two-handed backhands of all time, Serena Williams, and showed her how when I drew a similar line at contact for her at the height of contact and then went back a little bit, I showed her how, look at how much lower her racket drops. And because she has this vertical lift of her swing, she's able to maintain a very closed racket face, or square at contact, maybe slightly closed facing downwards. And it's the combination of those two things that allows her to hit the ball really, really hard and still keep it in play without it launching and sailing too far. So my advice to her and her coach was, you need to learn how to get the racket down below the point of contact so we can swing upwards and give the ball some lift while also keeping the racket face square so that we don't get underneath the ball too much and launch it way up into the air. So at first, it seems like this is a clear-cut case of our student being stuck here, unconscious incompetence. She probably just doesn't know she's supposed to drop the racket down, right, and swing from low to high. She's probably never been told by a coach before that she needs to swing low to high on her ground strokes, right?
Low to high, wrist low, head high.
Well, wrong. Of course, she's probably been told 1,000 times that she needs to swing low to high on her backhand. And here's how I know that. I know that because she takes lessons from a great coach, and she's taken a lot of lessons. And low to high is like one of the most cliche, overused phrases in the history of learning how to get better at tennis. So she's probably literally heard that phrase 1,000 times. But here's the crazy part. If we go forwards a little bit in her video, we'll see in here a shadow swing. Her coach is probably kind of reloading on balls, and she's got a couple seconds to kill right here. And watch what she does when she's got a little bit of time to kill and she's just throwing in a practice swing. She starts with her racket up and drops it down and then swings up again. So on her shadow swing, she has no idea what we're going to focus on or what I'm going to talk to her about or anything like that. But on her shadow swing, she's demonstrating the correct path here of getting the racket down and then coming up through contact. So this is not a case of this student being stuck without knowing what to do. It's that she has the information and she even knows how to do it. She's demonstrating that during her shadow swing, but she has not made her way through to the point where she can do it subconsciously yet without concentrating on it. Another way of looking at this is that this player essentially has two different backhands. She has a backhand that she does automatically, and that's her like real true kind of habit. And so for that backhand, it's subconscious. That's the kind of the baseball swing where she's super level and super straight. She's also made her way through this part of the circle with the knowledge that she's supposed to drop lower than that and swing upwards through the point of contact. And on that swing, the newer one that she has not mastered yet, she is stuck here. And then there's this gap in between those two phases of the improvement circle that she needs to make her way through. But one thing is for sure, for her to get better and to get better results, she needs to break through that wall and make the new and better backhand subconscious. It's not good enough to know you're supposed to do it. It's not good enough to be able to do it when you're not thinking about it. And this is where tennis players like myself, like I'm not immune to this. I get stuck in this exact same cycle because sometimes I just don't have the time to devote to doing the right kind and the right quality and the right quantity of training repetitions to break through and get to subconscious competence with something new and better. Adult tennis players, I want you to hear me loud and clear. 99% of all humans have to go through this entire cycle and they struggle and they get stuck and sometimes they get stuck forever and they never actually break through and do what they know they're supposed to do. And I know you can relate to this because you're watching this video right now. Notice I said 99%. There are 1% of humans who have so much coordination, so much talent, they have so much natural innate ability that a coach can just tell them, hey, swing low to high. And they're like, oh, okay, sure. Nobody told me that before. And they just swing low to high. That's not me. I don't have that kind of talent. That's not this girl either. And that's fine. I'm not saying that as like a bad thing. That is 99% of us. It's exceedingly rare that somebody has so much coordination and physical awareness and talent that a coach can just be like, hey, do it this way. And they're like, okay, sure. And they just do it that way. For all the rest of us, we have to make our way through a pretty painstaking process of doing the right repetitions, the right number of times, with the right amount of concentration, that slowly but surely the new and better stroke becomes subconscious. That's not easy, and that's why players get stuck. And so the solution, if you feel stuck right now, is to make your way through to that subconscious competence phase of the improvement circle. How do we do that? I'm going to tell you in the next video, so stay tuned.